really bad. And so after Matt Weldon and I left Kinokuniya, I had to drive like an hour and 10 minutes back to Temple. Oh, we're live. Oh, man. Did I just mention poop? I did. It's too late now. Okay. If you're listening to this in replay or if you're tuning in live, welcome to the Bunderdome. I am your host, Timothy Lim, and with me is my co-host and co-creator, Mark Pellegrini. We were talking about the wonderful day that I had today. So, for those of you who were paying attention to Twitter, I did submit the um, the digital pre-press proofs for Soulfinder Demons match and for Black Ops Hair Trigger. So that's all taken care of. Now they're just in the queue, waiting for production and waiting to get printed. And their turnaround time is domestic in the United States, and it's 3 to 5 weeks. So hopefully we can actually get this stuff out by the end of October, or at least begin fulfillment at the end of October. So I'm super stoked. I'm having such a great day. So I was telling Mark, I hanged out with Bill and Matt. You can ignore that part about pooping. Just
No,
I
you,
never
you
said
hung
that.
out with Bill and Matt, and then you pooped your pants, and then what happened?
Yes. Well, then I had to drive home afterwards. Just kidding.
You pooped your pants.
No, so Bill took me to this really good snow cone place. It was super, super good. It was right next to the Kinokuniya.
Did they
And then
have
we hanged out
what's that Filipino snow cone crap you love called malo malo or something, or
Halo
halo
Halo.
halo? Did they have that?
They did not. It was kakiguri. So the
That
Japanese
sounds even
stuff.
more disgusting. What's the difference?
The kakiguri is less disgusting than the halo halo because it's Japanese shaved ice. It's just shaved ice with fruit on top. Like, you just pick one fruit, strawberry, banana. So he had Oreo and I had cheesecake, and it was so good. And then Matt abstained. He did not have anything, but he did have some water, which was cool. And
Oh
then
man, living large.
I know, living large. And so okay, so let me address the chat real quick. So Sergeant Bat says, "Sup guys, sup Sergeant Bats. You are on vacation. You shouldn't be hanging out with these two losers who have nothing better to do on the Friday night." No, actually, I'm really happy because I had a good day today, and tomorrow we're going to the wedding of one of our really good friends. He's actually our agent. So I'm actually going to be driving about 5 hours north to go to this shindig. And Mark, I don't know about you. Are you gonna hitch a ride, or are you gonna drive by yourself?
I'm gonna drive by myself. It's only like 49 minutes away according to GPS. If you can drive 5 hours, I can drive 45 minutes.
Yeah, but you're accident prone. You've been in more accidents than I have.
It's
I've
always
been
the
in
other guy's fault. I've
0.
never been in an
Sure, that's what they
accident
all
where it's
say.
somebody else's fault.
That's what
It's
they all
my
say.
fault.
Matthew Reese says hello. Hello, Matthew Reese. Matthew Reese says, Sergeant Bat, so you like cummy bears? I hope that was a misprint. I think it was. Now he says, do you like gummy bears? And then Wiles says, what's up, guys? What's up, Wiles? We need to start doing this. So we have like celebrity, not endorsement. We don't have celebrity endorsements. We do have endorsements. This show is brought to you by Chicken Sith. Chicken Sith, the world's #1 truck driver. As he goes from one place to the other in the Central Texas area, he is always tuning into the Thunderdome. And so we like Chicken Sith. So if you're
Yes,
listening to
Chicken
this,
Sith is like the real life US-1 from Marvel Comics. He was the trucker who had a metal plate in his head so he could pick up transmissions on a CB radio with his brain. And Chicken Sith is like that, but with our live streams.
but his hair is better though.
His hair's a lot better, yes.
His hair, if you've never seen Chicken Sith in person, sometimes he'll show a picture of himself on Twitter and social media. He really doesn't care if people know, but his hair is like Fabio level goodness. It's so crazy.
The reason he's called Chicken Sith because he has Kylo Ren's hair.
I think his hair is better than Kylo Ren's.
Probably. And his
Kylo Ren's is like coiffed. Chicken Sith is au natural. Oh, we got some guests in the chat. The comic book hut. He is the amazing, the spectacular, the great one, your host, the hut. He says, hi, everybody. And Ash on Comics says, hi, Tim and Mark. Congrats on Black Ops. Thank you very much. We will talk about that here in just a second. We just went to press as of this morning. We are in a waiting queue to get printed. So in about 3 weeks, he estimates. And so there's a horse race going on between Soul Finder and Black Ops. Which one will make it to customers first? Now, here's the catch. They're going to 2 fulfillment centers. So let's say Soul Finder goes to print first. If that fulfillment center it's going to is slower, then potentially Black Ops can catch up. So it truly is a race between
Well, Tim,
the
you
Soul
have to choose
Finder and the
one.
Hare.
So who are you rooting for in this race, Tim?
Oh my gosh.
It's like
That's a
choosing
tough
between your
one.
children, but you got to choose one.
So here's the hard thing. Okay, I want Doug to exceed expectations. So right now he's on time. As in, if he fulfills by November the 1st, like starts fulfillment, he will be on time because he promised fulfillment in November. So he has 30 days to fulfill it. Somewhere in there, right? I mean, he can start fulfillment on November 30th and he will still be able to say that he fulfilled on time, right? Because it's
Mhm.
only a month that's given. But if we fulfill in November, we're ahead of time by a whole month. So Doug's hope is that the books arrive by October the 31st, and that way he can have the bragging rights of saying that he actually delivered early. So technically, he would be like ahead of time.
Well, bragging rights are a noble reason to choose Doug, so I understand.
Yes, but I do like being ahead of time, and even though I told people December, behind the scenes, you and I both knew that we were like way ahead of our schedule, so we have some leeway. But I just like I like being able to say that we were able to do things ahead of time. Uh, Bianca fights the zombie says, "Aloha, y'all. Point of personal privilege here. What are everyone's pronouns? Mine is he, him, like like normal people."
My name is Mark.
Okay, so what was the other thing I was gonna say? Do you remember the name of that gentleman on Twitter who said that he just gave us like this really big endorsement this morning? He was like, "I love that channel. It's so good. Like everyone needs to subscribe." I was so
Oh,
touched by
yeah.
that. I would feel bad if I didn't mention him. Hold on,
Was
let
it
me pull this
NAP?
up
It was
real quick.
NAP, right?
Well, I want to make sure I can pronounce it correctly because I just is it like an acronym? I think it's an acronym for something.
Oh yeah, I just call him. Well, I mean, when I read it, I read it as NAP, even though it's got like
Oh, okay.
N.A.P. But
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
NAP. Yeah,
So it's NAP Crypt Keeper. He goes by
Liberty and Cobweb. Yeah.
yes, Liberty and Cobwebs. His handle is Truthful Reason, and he says that he hasn't been able to catch this live, but he says that our chats are very entertaining. So I'm very happy to entertain. Mark and we're 2 idiots. If you listen to so we're on car rides all the time, going from one convention to the other, or just traveling, and like this is just how we talk in person. It's
Well,
very sophomoric
NAP.
humor.
So NAP or NAP Crypt Keeper, however he pronounces it. If you go to his Twitter profile page, the pinned tweet you're going to see is a drawing he did of Powdered Toast Man from Ren and Stimpy. So that's how you know he's an all right dude. He drew Powdered
Well,
Toast Man.
in your opinion, I actually never watched
my
Ren and Stimpy
universe.
as a kid. I think
Oh,
he's a cool guy. Don't get me wrong,
that.
regardless of whether he has that Ren and Stimpy illustration or not. Okay, so let's talk about some Black Ops here. So, I had contemplated not spoiling it, but I just think that people who are tuning into this channel, I think they're going to want to know the inside scoop. So, we had about 315 backers for Black Ops. So you're going to have some people who ordered it kind of sight unseen, and they're not going to see what's going on until they actually get the book. So I don't feel bad kind of spoiling it right here. People are wondering why the back cover is upside down. And I made sure to point that out on social media because those people are watching and they're going to be like, huh, you printed the book backwards. It's like, no, we didn't. That was completely intentional. So the reason why the book has the front cover right side up and the back cover upside down. And no, it's not just because we wanted a virgin back cover, which does occur. And actually, I think they actually did that for Black Ops 1 and 2. They actually printed the cover on the other side upside down.
They did. Yes.
They did. And they were both virgin covers, which meant there was no trade dress. And we're doing that again with this book. But that's not the reason why the back cover is upside down. The reason why is because one thing that Mark and I are passionate about is we feel like the comics medium is unique and that there are things that you can do with the comics medium that you can't do in any type of visual storytelling. One thing that drives Mark and I crazy is when people make comics as proof of concept for movies. Now, don't get me wrong. If you get option for a movie, more power to you. That's fine. But we're of the mindset that you create the good book first. You don't think about any of that stuff, and you just let that stuff kind of happen. But your focus should be, how do I make this comic the best it can be, utilizing the best aspects of the medium? So we wanted a way of telling the story that you almost can't recreate digitally, because in digital reading, you're almost limited to just linear reading. You go from the first page to the last page. So in Black Ops 2, in Hair Trigger, the two stories of Patriotter and USAGI take place simultaneously at the exact same time, which means that they have a shared ending. So when you read Black Ops 2, you read it one way and you make it to the middle of the book, and then you turn the book upside down, you read the other story, and no matter how you read it, you're going to have the same ending both ways. And I want to thank our good friend Bill Williams for coming up with that, because, oh my gosh, I think Mark and I were scratching our heads trying to be like, how do we recreate kind of like a two-player game feel?
So yeah, we wanted something like Contra or Ikari Warriors. There's these two agents going into infiltrating, two soldiers infiltrating an enemy base, and they're fighting side by side. How do we tell their stories separately but also interconnectedly? And I remember the first time you tried to describe this format to me, you chose like the worst description possible. You said, Mark, it's like a choose your own adventure book. I was like, what the hell does that mean? Does it like every page has like to find out what happened? Like if Patriotter dies, go to page 17. If Patriotter lives, go to page 9. Like, is that how I'm writing this?
Well, it worked out because, like, okay, until Bill suggested that, what we had thought about doing was having, so we knew that we wanted Matt Weldon, right? Like we knew that he was going to be a second artist on the book. But originally what we were going to do was we were going to have the two stories going on simultaneously as you turned the book. So on the top half of the book would be me. On the bottom half of the book would be him. Now, the only problem with that is that people read books in terms of a sequential left to right, up and down. So visually, it would be hard to kind of tell them, like, don't pay attention to what's going on down here. Just pay attention to what's going on up here. And then, if you want to reread it, then go back down. It would be really hard to tell a simultaneous story that way. But we were about to do it. And, luckily Bill had told us that. Now, I was like, hey, this is so unique. And Bill was like, they've been doing this in the 90s, right? Like, this is not a new concept. But, to his credit, he was like, but they haven't done it in such a long time that I think your readers will be really they'll be tickled silly when they see that you guys did this.
Well, so like you pointed out when we started talking about this, that comics are a unique medium, and you should take advantage of that medium and what it can do that none of the other mediums can do. So if you're writing a comic or drawing and laying out a comic, don't lay it out like storyboards of a movie, or don't just lay it out like you're trying to pitch a comic or like pitch a movie or a storybook or a TV show. Like, what can you do with a comic that you can't do in a movie, that you can't do in a TV show, that you can't do in a novel? And that's where you get some of the most memorable things in comics in history. So that's how you get the issue of Watchmen, the Rorschach origin issue, where the layouts are symmetrical and they meet in the middle like a Rorschach test. That's something that the movie Watchmen couldn't do, that no other version of Watchmen can do. Or you get something like the famous issue of Dave Sim's Cerebus, where Cerebus is drunk, and so all the layouts and the lettering are all like sideways, so you have to keep turning the book like left and right and up and down to read the to read the dialogue, but it also simulates being drunk and wobbling around and being dizzy. Like, that's something you can do in comics that you can't do in a movie or any other medium. And it's something you should think about when you're writing comics, is like, well, am I writing a script for a movie or am I writing a script for a comic? If I'm writing a script for a comic, what can I do that is unique to this format? And that's how you can have a lot more fun with it, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think for pretty much everything that we've worked on so far, if you pay enough attention, we do things like that. For example, you might be wondering, like, well, what do we do in Black Ops issues 1 and 2 that kind of utilizes the comic medium. Well, we have it so that the characters who are animals, they communicate in their own language, and the language is pictograms. Now, I don't see how in any other medium aside from a cartoon you would able to actually do that. And even in the cartoon, that would be kind of difficult because
Well, in a
pictograms
cartoon,
are almost like hieroglyphics.
yeah, in a cartoon where you have sound, they could just squeak and grunt at each other. We needed something that showed that they were communicating, but it wasn't just empty panels of squeak, squeak, grunt, grunt, meow, meow, bark, bark. That gets tiresome. So we came up with a pictogram thing as a sort of, unwritten universal language that animals use, which puts something visually interesting into the panels. And it's also something kids would immediately latch onto as like emojis, but it's not exactly the same thing. It's just pictograms. And that's, again, like you said, that's something unique to comics. It's not something that you would need with doing a cartoon or a movie or something that has sound.
Right. And I just think that that's really important. Oh my gosh, I just got scared. So I'm here by myself, and I forgot that we have this automatic air freshener. Like it just squirts like the Febreze every hour, and it just did that right now. And I just had a man, I had just a little
What's that
panic
smell?
attack.
It smells like lilacs. Is it the ghost of is it the ghost of a fairy in here?
What do they always say in like Febreze? Like there's always like this weird scent where I just think it's great marketing, but on the other hand, I was like, that doesn't exist in the wild. That's just it's like it smells like fresh linen. And
I
so
don't
when
know what anime it was from, but I saw like the meme of it. Someone posted like screen caps with the subtitles on it, and it's these little anime girlies, and they're having a sleepover, and they're telling ghost stories. And one of the little girls is like, "It's my turn. Let's tell a ghost story." And like, okay, so one time I was alone at home, all by myself, and I smelled a fart that wasn't mine. And all the girls start screaming.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of which, so I'm gonna put my boy Matt Weldon on blast, and if he's listening to this, I'm sorry, Matt, but this is freaking funny. I swear that boy crop dusted me in Kinokuniya today.
Sounds like he
That
had
was,
you on blast, Tim.
dude, yeah, he had me on blast. He had me on after
Oh,
blast.
hilarious.
Ass blasters.
We got Captain Cummings in the chat. What's going on, Captain?
Oh, damn.
Friday.
Yeah.
I know. Cum Dog Millionaire. That can be
Millionaire.
that can be interpreted a lot of strange ways. None of them negative though. But how's it going, man?
Oh, it's really good. It's Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Got some beers.
Yeah, so does Mark. Mark, what do you have on tap?
I have my awful cocktail that Eric Taylor. It made him gag when I described it to him. You said tail. You said cock and tail. Cum Dog Millionaire.
Okay, so what's your concoction?
Oh, it's everyone says it's awful. It's a shot of 100, so 1 part 100 proof vodka, 1 part mojito mix, 1 part Mountain Dew, and then a squirt of lime juice.
You had me till the Mountain Dew.
I know. So I'm the kind of person I can't sip alcohol. I need to chug it. It needs to go down without tasting it because I'm a little fairy. So I need to just load it up with sugar and then just chug it, and then like stuff my mouth with something to get the taste off my tongue because I'm terrible with alcohol, but I love getting drunk.
What's your secret formula for? Don't you have a Jello mix you use too?
So I haven't done that in a long time. But yeah,
haven't?
no, that one's real easy. So if you get like the Jello that's 2 parts, 2 cups hot water and 2 cups cold water. You just put in the 2 cups hot water to melt the gelatin, and then instead of 2 cups cold water, you put in 2 cups of 100 proof vodka, and then you put that in the, and then you just sit down there with your huge tub of gelatin, and then you eat it until you barf.
Let's take a look at the chat here. Drunken Deity says that doesn't sound horrible. So you have a fan, Mark. You have someone who's gonna
finally someone who understands me.
I know, right?
The question you really got to ask is how much vodka would Bill Cosby put into that Jello? Or how many roofies would Bill Cosby put in that?
Well, Mark wouldn't know.
The
'cause
thing
he's
about
only-
the Jello pudding is that you gotta mix the vodka in with the pudding, or they're going to get all crazy. Or no. Anyway, I'm Bill Cosby, and I'll see you when you wake up.
I'll see you in hell.
NAP Misfit says change your avatars to Beavis and Butthead immediately. I don't know if we said that live or not yesterday, but we actually are planning on doing that.
Yeah, we got to
That'd
do
be
that.
freaking funny. And then Ash on Comics says Cummings into chat. I'm jealous. Yes, because Captain Cummings is the king. He's the best. Apparently, I brainwash you, Captain Cummings. Like I've been hearing this rumor on the internet, and I'm just like, Captain Cummings is his own man. I talk. It's funny. Whenever you and I talk, we talk about like politics, and we talk about like your crappy teachers who who give you like weird assignments and stuff. The irony is that we never talk about comics.
Yeah, except for the Punisher baby issue.
Oh my gosh. So
Captain
hysterical.
Cummings has like the best taste in comics. Like when you go to a con, you raid like the 50-cent bins and you walk away with all the good comics from like the 70s and the 80s that nobody thinks to get. Like all the really awesome stuff by Chuck Dixon and Steve Englehart and the good writers from back in the day.
Well, yeah. Captain Cummings, you and Captain Cummings have the same approach to conventions. Like you guys are like purists. You're not really in it for the collector's value. You're in it for actually like reading.
I
have a ton of comics that are worth money, so I don't really give a shit anymore. But my problem is that I still have like probably half those comics on my bin, and since I have to read so much, books that suck, I haven't been reading any comics lately. But
yeah. So I mean, I have some comics that I guess are worth something. So my collection is almost entirely just Ninja Turtle comics. And like the ones that I have I don't have like a first printing of TMNT Volume 1, Number 1, or even like Issue 2 or Issue 3 or Issue 4. Those first printings go in the thousands of dollars. I don't have anything like that. But the ones that I have that are, I do have a first printing of Number 5. That one was a little easier to get. I think it cost me like $50 when I bought it. But the most valuable ones that I have, the ones that have the most value to me anyway, are they're the self-published ones that Laird did for Volume 4. The last like 4 issues of Ninja Turtles Volume 4 that Mirage did were like they were a really small print run of like 1,000 issues, and they were only sold directly through the Mirage website. They weren't even like distributed to stores, so they're impossible to find now. And because I was paying attention, 10 years ago when this was happening, I bought those from the stores, and I only bought 1 copy of each, and I'll never part with them. So it doesn't really matter that they're worth a lot of money now because I'd never sell them. They'd break up my collection, and that would feel like an organ leaving my body. And I also have like a couple so there's a guy named Andrew Modine who gets Mirage artists and writers together to do unofficial Ninja Turtle comics, but they're done by the actual Mirage people, Dan Berger and Jim Lawson and Steve Murphy and Frank Fosco and all these great guys who IDW won't hire to work on their Turtle comics. So he does these unofficial, non-for-profit Ninja Turtle books that are done by Mirage people. And so I help back all those, and I get those, and they're done in really small print numbers, and they're really hard to find. You kind of just have to be a lover of Ninja Turtles to even know about them, and then to go out and buy them. And so they're kind of like the jewels of my collection, even though I'm not even sure what their value is, but I'd never sell them.
I have a question about Ninja Turtles. What is it about Ninja Turtles Adventures Issue 1, the 4th printing?
The 4th printing? What's so special about it? I think just because it was a lower print run and it's harder to find. That's really all it comes down to. So the Archie Comics print runs, I mean, they're all identical. So you have to open the front page and look at the indicia where all the legalese is, and that'll tell you what printing it is. But just looking at it, you can't tell first printing from a 4th printing. So they're a bit harder to find. They were done in like different numbers. So yeah, that's why that one's so hard to find.
Yeah, because I just did an eBay search. No one has a first printing of Ninja Turtles, so there is not one there's no issue 1 first printing that is going up right now. So I wasn't able to find that.
You're
second
probably
most
putting that
expensive
on Heritage.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of those things where I want to just commit seppuku and kill myself in embarrassment. I went to a comic book convention in Virginia in like 1998, and I was thumbing through the back issues at one of the tables, and this guy had like first and second and third printings of TMNT number 1 through 4, and he was selling them for like $20 each. And I was like, Ninja Turtles, that's so lame. I'm into X-Men now. I'm not buying these. And I didn't. And I know. And I look back like, oh my God, if I had just bought them.
If I just bought that whole box, I'd retire.
Yeah.
There's one, I think the most valuable comic in my collection, which is ironic because I hate it. And I just haven't had the time or the care to put the effort into selling it. I'm pretty sure it is Ultimate Spider-Man #1, the first print run. Because someone told me it's worth a lot of money.
It is.
It's worth like $100 or something like that.
Oh gosh, why'd you say that? The last time I looked, it was like 850.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, that was a long time ago. It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's when the demand goes up and down. Like I remember I had X-Men #25, the one where Magneto pulls Wolverine's adamantium out of his bones. And I remember Wizard Magazine, because they could they could just name their prices on comics because they were the ones who had that power. And for the longest time, yeah, that's right. They were saying like X-Men #25 was worth $200. And I was like, oh man, this is an investment. You find that in the quarter bins now. It's worthless, along with the rest of the Fatal Attractions issues.
Was that Captain or was that you?
That was Captain.
Sighing over the quarter bins.
What was that book? You gave a graded book to Doug Ernst when we met up a few months ago. What was it? Was it actually Secret Wars, or was it like a variant cover of Secret Wars?
It was Secret Wars, but the one that happened like a few years ago.
Oh, the recent one.
Yeah, and it had the
Hickman one.
Yeah, the Hickman one. And it had the reprint it had a variant with the original artists of the Spider-Man issue.
Oh, Mike Zeck?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And it was signed and all that stuff. I had 2 copies of it. And he likes Spider-Man, so I gave it to him.
Yeah, because I didn't know that you gave that to him until he was actually talking about it during one of his streams, like a week after. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you did that. That's actually really cool. Let's see here. NAP Misfit says, weirdly, one of the most expensive comics I have is Rick and Morty #1. I picked it up, thought nothing of it, didn't really care for it, and now it's like $300 on eBay. And an Action Comic says, I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, but maybe you can answer this. What are these Peter Laird TMNT books I've never heard of?
So, okay. Well, first let me address NAP. For Rick and Morty #1, I think that was an IDW comic, and they did a really low print run on that, because all comics now are done on low print run, like 5,000 copies for some books. So it just matters if people care about them. Like I have some IDW did like tie-in comics to the Ninja Turtles cartoon called TMNT Amazing Adventures, and the print runs on those are like 4,000 copies per issue, like super low. They're incredibly hard to find. The problem is that they're not worth anything because nobody wants them. So there has to be a demand. And once there's a low print run plus a demand, then you get Rick and Morty #1 being worth $300. So that's how that happens, But for the dude who asked about Ash, who asked about the Laird comics, so there was the last era of Mirage TMNT in the 2000s. So from like 2001 to 2009, before they sold to Viacom, they were still publishing comics and putting them out in the direct market, but they were again, like boutique comics. They were very low print runs. Even though there was a Ninja Turtles cartoon on Saturday mornings at that time, nobody was interested in these comics. It was 2 books. It was Ninja Turtles Volume 4 and Tales of the TMNT Volume 2. And the print runs were low. The demand at the time was low. So they're hard to find now. I had a subscription at the time to my comic shop, and so I was able to get every issue as they came out. So I have complete runs of those. But if you try to find them now, they are expensive, and especially towards the end of those runs, they get really tough to find. Like I said, the last 4 issues, I believe, of TMNT Volume 4 were sold only through the Mirage website. And those are the ones that go for like $200 or $300 per issue now. There are some counterfeits out there, by the way. Usually they're pretty honest. You'll see like a stamp on the cover that says no fan printing, but just don't be fooled by that. If you want an actual authentic one, it's going to be like $300 or $400. Tales of the TMNT, so far as I know, hasn't had any counterfeit printings, but like the last 10 issues of that run, I think it went to 70 issues, so like 60 through 70. Those are going to cost you because by that point they're printing the comic in such low numbers and there's such low demand. Nobody was buying it that they're very hard to find. And it's one of those things where, man, I wish I had bought 2 of each issue at the time because then I could keep one and sell the other, but I didn't. I never buy 2 of anything, and so I never have one to sell when it ends up being worth something. And I never want to part with the one that I have, so I'm always in that fix.
That was very insightful.
Thank you.
Captain Cummings, what are you reading nowadays? Are you even reading modern comics?
Currently, I'm reading a book called Modern Latin America.
Oh my gosh. So not comics related, unless it's a graphic novel.
Yeah.
I'm surprised in school, do they make you read that graphic novel by Elijah Cummings?
No.
Good. Thank God. Hikaru. Wow. Hikaru's in the chat. Says, yo. And to that, I say, yo, Hikaru. And then let's see here. There's another comment. So Ash on Comics says, thanks for the info, Mark. And let's see here. There was another one that was really good I wanted to point out. Needle Mover Society, who, by the way, they're a great channel. They actually got us past our goal. So we actually crossed our goal for Black Ops while streaming live with these dudes.
Yes, they lived up to their name. They moved the needle for us. So thank you, guys.
They did. They also talk about crocheting, which is where their name comes from. But they say, love you guys. Looking forward to Black Ops. We love you too. Black Ops will be phenomenal. We were just about $500 shy of meeting our goal for getting Squarebound, but luckily the printer actually kind of did us a solid. We were able to negotiate a good price, and so I was actually able to pay for the square binding out of pocket, and it didn't break the bank. So everyone's gonna get a square-bound book. Plus, I got a really cool. Oh, I don't want to spoil it. I got a really good deal on something else that all backers are gonna get, and they're not going to find out until their package arrives. So I don't care what tier you backed at, you're all gonna get something pretty neat with it as well. So we like to invest in our products because we hope to have your patronage later on whenever we do future things. So we really appreciate everyone who stops by. Literally all of our money goes into the production of the books. If you actually see how our paychecks are cut at the very end, they're page rate checks. I mean, that is how we budget. So it's not like we're not buying yachts or anything with any of the money you give us.
Well, we love it when we can sell Black Ops to somebody who doesn't listen to our channel, doesn't follow us on Twitter, has no idea who we are, has never read any of the comics we've ever done. If we can just sell it to them on the premise, like we see that at conventions when we set up, at cons every summer, people walk by, they see the rabbit, they see the cover, we tell them what the plot is, and they buy the book. They don't know who we are. They don't care who we are. They think the idea is cool and they want to know more. And a lot of the people who bought Black Ops 2 bought it for the same reason. They didn't read Black Ops 1. They don't care who Tim is or Mark or anybody else. They just think it's a neat idea. And those are the people we really want to impress to get them back for Black Ops 3. And we also want to satisfy the people who read Black Ops 1 and came back for more. which means that, they liked it, which also flatters us.
Well, it's flattering because we're amateurs, right? And I mean, like I said in the beginning of the chat, we're essentially two idiots. We really don't know what we're doing. I was talking to Preston Poulter last night, and I was mentioning that, like, I look back and I didn't know anything about lettering. And actually, if he's still in the chat, Comic Book Hut, he totally ripped on me for my lettering. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go commit seppuku, because I was looking back at how I lettered those books, and I'm like, I did like everything wrong. And so we really don't know what we're doing. But the fact is that having people who buy our stuff sight unseen, we have no celebrity status whatsoever. So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to back them because they're super cool and they're popular. Like, no one knows who we are. That to me is a bigger testament. It's kind of like in merchandising. We did merchandising for 8 years. And I tell people that, the pay is good, but the downside is there is no celebrity attached to it. Because whenever you buy a t-shirt from Walmart or Target, it's not like you're thinking to yourself, ooh, I wonder who did this. Like, no one ever thinks about that. But I said, in a way, it's actually more flattering, because you see your t-shirt or something out in public and you know that it's a true appreciation of the design. It's not because they necessarily know who you are. And that's the one thing that, we've liked about the last 2 years is people, they don't know who we are when they come to us at cons. They just see the books and they're like, oh, this is hysterical, or oh, this looks like a good concept. And they get it. And to us, that's very touching.
It's tougher for us because a lot of, we're not working with an established brand. We're building our brand up from the ground, from the foundation up. We're only on volume 2 right now. It's not like we're trying to sell our run on X-Men or Green Lantern or The Flash or something like that. A household name that's been around for 75 years. We're not just coming in on the backs of 75 years worth of previous creators who built this character or this brand up. We're starting from scratch, and we're starting small, but we're growing fast. And so if people are buying our book or looking into our book, it's because they're not following it because it's not X-Men or Green Lantern or The Flash. It's something brand new, and that brand new idea is appealing to them. And it's tough, and everybody else out there who's using original ideas and trying to build their brands out of nothing, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But when you find the person who really digs it, and that means everything.
I was trying to not to get, well, not emotional like in the type of way, but we, I don't want to mention, he shows up in our chats and I don't want to embarrass him, so I'm not going to mention his name, but we had someone who came to the convention two cons ago, and he literally has every single book that we've worked on. It was crazy, like crazy in a I didn't know that would happen type of way.
That we could have a collector really cool. Who collects our stuff,
and he likes really them, cool. He likes them because he legitimately thinks that they're good books, not because, like I said, we're not celebrities or anything, which is really neat. The real celebrity was Kevin Cummings.
I got your guys's. I think I got all your guys' books.
This guy had all like the variant covers.
All the variants. I don't have that.
Yeah, like IDW variants. He had like my blood. Like it got to the point where there was nothing I could give this guy, because normally if you come to me,
did he have your Hardly Thin one?
He did. He had my Hardly Thin.
That's impossible to get too. That was like only 100 copies.
That was it was a $45 book when it came out, and they only limited it to like 150 copies, and he had it. And normally if you come up to our booth and you tell us like, hey, I'm so and so and I follow you on Twitter, I mean, we just hook you up with free stuff. It's like, take a book, take a poster, take a print, take a sticker, take whatever.
True. Like, I feel bad like taking stuff and giving it to like my family.
No, don't feel bad. Just we like rewarding people.
I don't like taking free stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, if you gave it to your family, that's even better. It means that you're spreading the word about our product, about our brand, about our characters to other people. So yeah, by all means, take our stuff and distribute it. Yeah, market for us.
Think of it as advertising.
Yeah.
Like we don't feel bad because this is for us is like a side gig, so we can part with freebies. We don't mind rewarding people. Like that's just, I guess, part of the job. But this guy had everything. We could not give him a thing. And so what I did was I drew him a picture. Like I took a little
that's not what
postcard.
you did, Tim. What you gave him was a lock of your hair.
Oh, that's right.
And then he cloned another Tim.
No, I gave him a lock of my hair, and he was like, "I have it already." So I gave him a lock from. Then I gave him a lock from down there, and he was like, "Ugh, I don't think I want
curly.
that." My gosh, I'm so glad we're not monetized. Comic Book Hut says, I don't know what that is. Is that supposed to be me? It's like me if I was bald. It has little squinty eyes and little flat line for a mouth. I don't know what that means. I guess he's embarrassed because I said that he criticized my lettering, which was good. I was really glad that he pointed it out, and John Delarose pointed it out. And so I was like, okay, I got to take some lettering courses. So I made sure to consult Bill Williams. So trust me, Soul Finder, I have gone through that dang thing a billion times, page by page, looking at my crossbars. I think the only issue, oh my gosh, I'm not going to mention it. I'm just let someone find it. There's only one issue I can think of that comes to mind. But as far as like your general lettering tips are concerned, I think I did good. But we'll see.
What happened was Hutt and Delarose were like, Tim, your lettering sucks. And then he went to Bill and like, Bill, my lettering sucks. What should I do? And Bill was like, use fewer words. And you're like, Mark, your script sucks. I'm like, what should I do? Use fewer words.
We're idiots, man. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, he was, and Bill, like, he's very blunt. He was like, so I was having lunch with him today. We were having a barbecue. And he goes, and we're kind of having a little celebration because, Black Ops is done. We're pretty much done for the year. We're going to be in pre-production starting next month, but we're going to kind of take it easy. And he goes, he said, the hardest thing about being a writer is, one, you do have to do some research. And there's this temptation to want to tell the reader everything that you did, where it's kind of like, well, I had to learn all this stuff. Now you have to learn it too.
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't want to do that. You want to, it's always a show and not tell type of thing. Mm-hmm. So you're always having to distill it. But real quick, so here's a funny story. So I like the script, right? Like I was going through it and I was like, this is good. Well, Bill sends me this lettered page back, and good gosh, like there was a lot of text, and so I made this one panel fairly big. It takes up like half the script page, and he sends it back, and it's literally pushed up against the margins. Like you can only see the characters and no background. Like I drew this metal door opening with a pneumatic sigh, like, and all of that was just blanked out with text. And he just put a comment. He was like, "Hey, FYI, this is the best I could do with this. Like, look at all of this text." So I ended up having to go through and kind of think to myself and be like, well, I'm editing this thing. Like, geez, what do I do with this? So I had to trim it down by half. And so it's like, hey, Bill's word of wisdom is limit your characters to 25 words per balloon.
That's the thing, is that so after Tim trimmed the dialogue, he trimmed the dialogue down, and then he sent what he trimmed, how he trimmed it back to me. And it's like, okay, Mark, I had to cut it down like this. Fiddle with it and make the dialogue, your own again, but, keep it within this constraint, this number of words, this size constraint. And so he gave the dialogue back to me after he trimmed it down to polish it and make it work again, which is what a good editor would do. I've had some bad editors in the past who I send them my script, they change my dialogue, they don't tell me, then the book comes out and I see what the editor wrote, but put my name on, and like, well, F you. So yeah, I don't mind if as long as Tim says he has a good reason. He's like, Mark, you blew your load all over this word balloon, and now it's covering up all the art. I cut it down. If you want to cut it down in a different way, feel free, but 25 words or less, Mark. And so, yeah, I get my opportunity to fix my dialogue, because you've got to fix your work all the way up until it goes to printing. You've got to fiddle with it and perfect it to make the best book possible.
And that really does make sense, like 25 words, because like in a motion comic, where stuff is happening every panel, like 25 words is a shitload for like one panel.
Oh yeah, especially depending on the type of font you use. Bill and I, we rotate between 3 Comic Craft fonts, and the only problem is that if you're going to use one font, you have to be pretty consistent from page to page, panel to panel, not unless there's something going on where it's like heavily italicized or someone's screaming or whatever, then you have a little bit of leeway, but you can't just change font size simply because it's on a whim. But I don't know, the lettering phase is actually kind of fun. I was talking to Matthew Veely not too long ago, and he actually enjoys it. He letters Legends of the Lone Wolf, and he was like, dude, I kind of dig this. Like, it's actually kind of neat. So my advice to him, which I think someone else told him, was free font is good. You can get a lot of it, like the Font Squirrel, thefont.com, 1001 fonts. I mean, there's a lot of free font out there, but the only problem is that if you letter enough, you can easily spot the free font. So I gave him a bunch of Comic Craft fonts that you pay a lot of money for. So Comic Craft font is $100 per font license. It is not cheap, but it's the good stuff. But I typically will pay for a license for like 3 people. So I gave him the hookup on that. Ash on Comics says, I discovered you with My Hero Macadamia. I've been getting all your books since. Well, thank you very much. I mean,
Yeah, thanks.
Geez, how many books have we put out? We put out, let's count. My Hero Macadamia, Black Ops 1 and 2, that's 3. Trump Space Force, that's 4. I guess Thump, in a way, that's 5. You have Walmite, which is 6. You have Soul Finder coming out soon, which is 7. And then you have Black Ops 2, or Black Ops Hair Trigger, which is 8.
Yeah.
So not too bad. 8 books in less than, this will make it 2 years as of next month.
8 books in 2 years. Yeah,
I know.
We're productive. We're like rabbits.
I know. And let's take a look at this. So like 32. How many pages was whatchamacallit? Thump. Do you know off the top of your head?
And I have to pull out my copy
48.
and count the pages. Yeah, something like
so it's 48, and then you have 64 for Black Ops. You have 54 for Trump Space Force. You have 64 for Soul Finder. You have 68 for Black Ops Hair Trigger, and then you have 40 for Walmart. 370 pages in 2 years. 370. I can't even believe it. No wonder. I need to go visit the optometrist because I had a good day, but something that is probably not good is my right eye. So it was like twitching 2 weeks ago, and my wife was like, you just need more potassium. So I started taking more potassium and magnesium supplements, but today I literally feel like there's a pebble in my eye. Like it's like a pebble bumping up against my, like, the top of my eye, and it's like, I really hope this isn't related to the fact that I draw every day, because this is gonna cut my career pretty short. But yeah, it's not too bad.
I remember that time. It was before I moved down to Arkansas, and I still lived in Virginia. And I came to you, me, and a couple friends were going to Disney World that summer. So I flew down from Washington D.C. to Orlando, and I put it in an old contact lens that was scratched.
Oh, yes.
And so I came off the plane. You guys were waiting in the car, out to pick me up at arrivals. And I walk out, and I have this one single blood red eye. I'm like, hey, guys, what's going on? Open the door. Let me in. You're like, oh, shit.
I know. And I'm just like, what the heck? And like, I fell asleep on the plane with my contact in, and it was a scratch. I was like, geez, dude. Don't
anything with your eyes is going to just totally mess you up. On deployment, I got like a little tiny metal shaving in my eye.
Oh,
and my eye like blew up. Like I thought I got it out. I went to sleep, and I woke up at like 2 a.m, and my eye was like just like huge. Like I got punched right in the eye.
Oh my gosh!
And
so do you have an
now,
infirmary or something?
I don't know, but they put a suction cup on my eyeball, and and then it sprayed water in my eye, and it got the shaving out. And it must have scratched my eye or did something, because when I look over now, like to like see if I need to back out with a car, like I'll feel like a tug or something weird, and that just tells me I'm going to be paid later in life. Because
Did you have you had it looked at yet?
No.
Oh my gosh. You're like me. I'm too scared. Part of me kind of doesn't want to go to the optometrist because then he'll be like,
but I have told the military, I was like, look, this shit happened. You record this shit because I'm
yes, of course.
For this.
Right.
Well, if you want to get your I guess medical service now, you should go to the VA and start waiting in line. By the time you're 60, they'll see your eye.
Yeah, they'll be like.
But a friend of mine,
yes.
So a friend So a friend of mine, back in DC, he graduated from college with a degree in criminal justice. He wanted to be a police officer, and in Fairfax County, which is like right next to Washington D.C. in Virginia, there are just tons of police officers. It is just lousy with cops. They have a surplus of cops, so they can actually. The crime rate is really low. It's really, really safe because there's a cop at every corner. They have so many. But it also means that there are far more applicants than they need. So they can be very picky and choosy about the cops that they want because they've got so many people with criminal justice degrees who probably couldn't get into the FBI. So they went into trying to become a cop instead. Yeah. So I won't say his name. So he was trying to become a cop, and they kept putting like these physical, you got to pass this physical. And he was a huge buff guy, so he passed that in flying colors. Like, oh, well, you have to have a master's degree in criminal justice. He's like, here's my diploma. And they're like, okay, well, you have to have 20/20 vision without using corrective lenses. And so he's like, and he wore glasses, so he couldn't even get contacts. It's like, okay, well, I'll get laser eye surgery. And so he went to get laser eye surgery, and he told me how they did it. And I was like, Jesus. He said, like, yeah, they don't give you any anesthetic. They don't put you out. You just lay on the table, and then the doctor comes by with a scalpel, and he tells you, and he holds your eyelid open, and then he slices the flesh off the skin of your eyeball, and he peels it back like a grape, and then they shoot the laser into your retina. Mm-hmm. And then he gives you a whole bunch of Percocets and sends you home, and you're in tremendous pain for the next like 2 days, and then you can see.
My mother used to. She was a nurse for an eye doctor, and he did those. And you would. She would bring home the videos of that shit, and I was like, "That's disgusting."
I mean, like 20/20 vision is not worth it for me. But the worst thing is that he did that. He went through all that. He got his 20/20 vision, and then they said, "Okay, we'll put you on a waiting list." And they never called.
Why didn't he just go to any other city?
He's married now, but it was his fiance at the time. And now they have a kid, and now they're still up there in Fairfax County. But he's got a good job now doing something else. He found something else with his degree, but he never became a cop, which is, I don't know, good because he never got shot. It's probably safer. But yeah, he but the thing is, like, he went through all that, and he still just got put on the waiting list because it can be so picky in Fairfax County.
Well, yeah, in that area.
Yeah. So the thing is, my dad got laser eye surgery earlier this year, and they didn't do that where they put the knife to your eye and peel back the skin of your eyeball. They just shot a laser into his eye and then cleared up whatever cataracts he had. And it's like, okay, you're good to go. And it was just like an outpatient surgery thing. I was like, oh, I could do that. But if they come at my eyeball with a scalpel, I'm getting out of there.
Yeah, I don't even like them like cleaning my
it's funny because
I don't even like going.
You don't like them cleaning your what?
Cleaning my teeth.
Oh my gosh! So I got to tell you this. So I'm using So I've been using Invisalign for the last 9 months, and this is really interesting. But you know how back in the day, like if you had to wear a retainer or something, they took like this tray full of gunk and they put it in your mouth, and like it makes you gag. It was so gross. They don't even do that anymore. Like my orthodontist, they use like this laser scanner. They just take this little wand, and they just like scan your teeth. That's it. Just like, oh dang. So it's not bad. I actually don't mind going to the dentist anymore. It made it like a whole lot less painless for sure.
Well, I mean, and you guys live in like Arkansas, so if like it was like New York City or something, like they probably don't even have to have you come into the office anymore.
Yeah, they have door-to-door dentists in New York City.
There's no fancy up there. It's like you don't have to go to the dentist. Dentist goes to you. What are you talking about, Karen Cummings? You're just like 2 states away from me and 1 state away from Mark.
I know.
I will say so, Captain. I will say this. You know, I'm down here in Texas right now, even though I split my time between Arkansas and Texas. But man, oh man, like the Texas barbecue down here is balling. Like it's so good. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to hate on Kansas, but like the Kansas barbecue is a little bit more like dry. You know, like I'm not used to the meat here. It's so like moist. It's like how everything is like served here.
You gotta actually. It's
I
weird.
knew you were gonna do that.
It's weird about Kansas because you got to actually eat Kansas City barbecue. Like if you eat it anywhere outside, it seems like it's just trash.
It doesn't win any awards. Like if you go to Texas for a barbecue contest and you make Kansas City barbecue, they're all going to laugh at you and kick you out. Same thing like Carolina style barbecue. I mean, but if you have Carolina style barbecue in Carolina, it's the best shit ever. It's all just regional. Everyone's
I just love their I love Carolina's barbecue sauce.
Yeah, me too. It's vinegary. Yeah,
and then it's like mustardy too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just a weird mustard douchebag.
Well, so when it comes to barbecue, I mean, yeah, when I have a hankering for barbecue, I usually want Texas style, the heavy molasses barbecue sauce, but I don't want it all the time. There are times when I go to a barbecue place and I want dry rub ribs or I want Carolina style. I mean, variety is the spice of life. It's like there are people who are so religious about pizza. And, they're like, Chicago style pizza sucks. It's not pizza. Like, I don't care if it's not pizza. It still tastes really good and I like it. So what's the problem?
Not a lot of cheese.
It's a pizza casserole and that's awesome. Enjoy it.
Oh, hey.
Piece of lasagna.
Captain, I wanted to ask you, what were you doing in Hawaii a few months ago? Were you on deployment or was it just vacation?
Who, me?
Yeah.
We went on this is funny. So we went to my guard unit went to Hawaii and we were building a STEM facility for the Girl Scouts.
Okay.
In the mountains.
Yeah. Of Honolulu, right? Like was it Diamond Head or was it the other shore? It was
on the other side on North Shore.
Did you see the Godzilla footprint while you were there?
There's a Godzilla footprint?
Yeah, so there's actually a marker. When they filmed that Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick, over where the mountains are towards the west shore of the island of Oahu, there's a scene in the movie in the very beginning where they're standing in Godzilla's footprint, and that was not done digitally. They actually dug a giant footprint into the ground, and it's still there. Now it's been overgrown a little bit, but when we were there about 8 years ago, you could still see it.
I actually lived there. I was stationed there in Hawaii, and I didn't even know that. So I've been there twice.
Pretty neat. It's because it's based off the Godzilla movie nobody likes, so that's probably
exactly. It's kind of like Mark was like, "Hey, if you're going to be in DC, you should visit the Exorcist steps." It was so disappointing. When I got there was just a bunch of goth kids, and one of them was like, "Hey, you want us to take your picture? It's $5." I was like, "No, I'll just take it myself."
That's so that when he told me that really disappointed me because I went to see it when I was a kid in like 1993. So before like even the idea of a bunch of like treating it like it's Times Square where a bunch of people in costumes like hang out outside it for tourists, like that had never occurred to anybody. It was still on the down low. So when I went to visit it, it was great. It was very creepy, very atmospheric. We went on like a gray, rainy day to go visit it. We picked the perfect day to see it. It was really cool. So hearing now that they've turned into like, the Hollywood Walk of Fame where just a bunch of assholes in costumes hang out and like, hey, dude, want me to take your picture, man? His steps are haunted. Like, that fucking sucks.
Well, it wasn't that bad. So I'm guessing it's not like that 24/7. But I mean, when I went, there were just like these four. It was like the 4 goth kids from South Park. They're just hanging out. I was just like, I just kind of just want to take a picture and go. I don't really care.
But when I came down to Arkansas, the first thing I was like, Tim, you got to take me to Folk, Arkansas so I can see the Monster Mart where the Boggy Creek Monster hung out. And Tim was like, if I go to Folk, Arkansas, they'll shoot me.
It was fun. We had a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
It was kind of creepy, but it was worth it.
Yeah, our friend Austin, he's an artist in Texas, worked for like Alamo City. He did the cover for one of my books. He drove up from Texas to Arkansas for Tim's wedding, and I was sitting at the table with him at the wedding dinner, and I was like, oh, so Austin, are you gonna stop by Folk on your way back? And he's like, Folk is on our way back? And he turned to Matt, who was the guy who was driving the car, like, guys, can we do this, please? And they're like, what the hell's in Folk that you want to see? And Austin said he went and he had like a great time. He saw the Monster Mart. He saw, the Bigfoot tracks and all the things from Legend of Boggy Creek. And meanwhile, like the people who were in the car with him were like, this is bullshit. What the hell's going on? Why did we stop here?
Yeah, because there's literally like their museum is in the gas station.
Yeah, it's a gas station, museum, gift shop, pizza parlor. It's like the only the only form of commerce they have in that entire town is in that gas station.
I mean,
Lots
it makes
of
sense.
fun. Keegan Hall. Woohoo, Keegan Hall. Keegan Hall says Texas barbecue is the best. Yes, I do agree. My wife and I are converts to Texas barbecue. It's good. Actually, the whole time I've been here, I've never tried ribs, but Texas barbecue, definitely brisket for sure, 100%. If you're ever in Texas and you visit barbecue joint,
I mean, you gotta have the brisket, otherwise
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just
Oh, it is,
stupid.
but the funny thing is, like, I don't think Arkansas is known for a brisket. We're known for pulled pork. Everything is like that's like our staple. So whenever you go to Arkansas and you want the barbecue, pulled pork is where it's at, or chopped pork is something else. But you have to douse it with barbecue sauce for sure.
I'll tell you one of my favorite things when I get a barbecue dish, like a full platter of barbecue. Obviously, it's the meat that's the best thing on it. The pulled pork, sausage. There's what's that place? County Line in San Antonio. Is that what it's
County
called?
Line's good. Yeah, yeah.
County Line has sausage. Is like the best barbecue restaurant sausage I've ever had. Or if you get like the ribs, like Saltgrass, a chain restaurant, they have great ribs. But one of my favorite things, like if I'm at an authentic barbecue place, is I love getting the potato salad and drizzling the barbecue sauce on the potato salad. And that just
sounds
tastes so
great.
good to me. I
know
love
what?
that. That's one of my favorite things.
One thing I never thought would go good with barbecue is mac and cheese, but every
That is a
place
little weird.
here, dude,
You
every
thought that was
place,
weird?
yeah, every place here has mac and cheese as a side item, and it's great with the barbecue. So my recommendations, if you're driving through Temple, Miller's Barbecue or Miller's Smokehouse, they're only open on weekdays from 11 till 3. They're not open in the evenings except for Fridays and Saturdays. So if you're driving through town and you happen to have a moment, make sure to stop by there. And Captain Cummings, if you come down next year for Bell County Comic Con, even though I love the gin, I'm really tempted to take you all to Miller's because holy cow, like the barbecue is just phenomenal. Like I don't think any person that we've ever taken as a guest to Miller's has been like they're just like awestruck as to how good it is. And my other recommendation is the place that Bill and Matt took us today, which is called what is it? Style Stitch, I think, or Stitch Styles, something like that. It's in Austin, just off of Lamar Boulevard, and it's really good too. So those are two of the recent faves that we've found so far, but they are really good.
What's really interesting too is my brother was actually born in Temple. And,
right. In the hospital where my wife works too.
Yeah. So what was it? I think we moved down there when I was 2, and then we left when I was 5, Texas. So I'm not an actual Texan. My brother is. He lives in the Philippines. Though.
It sounds like that episode of King of the Hill where Hank finds out that he was born in New York and it like shatters his life.
I'm an actual Kansan though. I grew up in Topeka. unfortunately live in Topeka.
So I was
nothing
born
wrong
in
with Kansas.
Virginia.
Kansas
They
is
call
cool.
us virgins. It's really embarrassing.
Wah, wah. Did you just make that up, or is that for real?
I just made that up. I mean, that's why
That's
it's
pretty clever.
yeah.
You're a clever
That's why
boy.
I'm a writer.
That's
Buy
why
Black
you're a
Ops 2.
writer.
Support me on
speaking of which,
Patreon.
let's see here. You live in. Oh, I forgot to. Let me just read this. NAP Misfit. Hey, my girl and I are watching Exorcist tonight. Nice. Exorcist is good movie. It's kind of basic staple of the horror genre. So you can't go wrong with that one. Ash on Comics. You live in Texas. Haven't had dinosaur bones. No, I have not had dinosaur bones. I'm not big into ribs, but I'll tell you what. Oh my gosh! Now this sounds like the basic bitch of
like ribs?
barbecue. But Mark and I, we're convinced that the best ribs we've ever had are at Saltgrass. If you have a Saltgrass Steakhouse in your neighborhood,
I know.
don't even look at the menu.
I know. It sounds like we're telling people to go to Applebee's when we tell them to go to Saltgrass. They think we're like, well, maybe I'll just go to Outback Steakhouse instead, you freaking plebes. But legit great pork baby back ribs at Saltgrass. Just, it's the best thing on their menu. They're really good. Fall off the bone meat, great sauce. Yeah, I love them.
It's so good. And then he also says, get you some beef ribs, Texas barbecue style. Damn. I'm not a rib fan, but at some point I do have to try them. So I do promise that I'll give it a try.
I like pork ribs better than beef ribs, and I know that made every I know that just made every Texan flip their 10-gallon hat. Like, damn fighting words. I challenge you to a duel.
Is like basically like brisket on bone.
I mean, I like beef ribs. It's not that I don't like them, but here's the other thing: when I have beef ribs, I like them with a Carolina sauce.
I like Carolina sauce.
Yeah, I like pork ribs with Texas sauce, and I like beef ribs with a Carolina sauce. I'm also the guy who's drinking vodka and Mountain Dew tonight, so my taste bud may not be very good, but yeah, that's the way I like it.
We have to talk about our slate for next year. I forgot that was one of the things that we were going to mention. So next year, we're going to begin our pre-production here in the next month. So I think I'm actually going to spring some of this on Mark. So he's like, "What? We were going to do what?" So obviously we're going to do Common America, which I think a lot of people are really excited about. I can announce, because I've mentioned it before, I am going to announce here that Miss Sashi is going to be helping us on that book, but I will not say in what capacity. You guys are just going to be very shocked when you see what we have in store. She's on board with it. She's going to be the only, I think, so she's going to be helping with us. She's going to be helping it with us, and Matt Weldon will be contributing 1 or 2 pieces of artwork, but it's going to be it's going to be a streamlined, lean campaign, kind of like Walmart. One of the interesting things we're going to be doing for next year is we're going to be introducing the digital options for all of our books. The digital options. Now, people have always wondered, and we have friends, SWC guys, Mod 1 and Mod 2, or as I like to call them, Tomax and Zaymot. They're really big into digital. Now, part of the reason why we've never gone digital is, 1, I'm a boomer, so I have no idea how that even works, and 2, piracy is a bit of a concern. Now, piracy in the past has, we think, helped us. We're not sure. When My Hero Macadamia came out, someone on Facebook shared it, and within 24 hours, it got 8,000 shares. I mean, it did push us into 3 printings, which is good.
And it was showing up on 4chan a lot too, on their CO board. Yeah,
and
all the
Poll
time
too. You'll see it on Poll occasionally. So that was good, but here's the problem: it's hard to measure that metric. If
is it losing us sales or is it gaining us sales? Is it free advertisement or is it just people stealing the book and not buying it? What does that come out to? You really can't judge.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer digital versions, but here's the key. The key is, yes, they're going to be a lot cheaper, but they're going to be stripped down. So basically, you're just going to get the basic story. If we have supplemental art like pinups and things like that, that's not going to be in the book. If we have extra pages, they're not going to be in the book either. And lastly, the resolution will be big enough so that you can read it, but it's not going to be big enough that you could actually print it on your own. So it's for people who just want to read the book. We do have a cheaper option that we're going to introduce, which is good. So people who do want and like the luxury of reading digital, you'll be able to read the story hassle free. That's not something that I mind. The next thing on the slate, and then I think this is where I'm going to trip Mark up a bit.
Oh,
We're going to
boy.
turn things around. So after Common America, we're not launching into Walmart 3. We're going to launch into Black Ops 3. So that will come out next year, and I have Matt Weldon pinned down for that one. He has a really full slate next year. He and I were just talking via Messenger, and I think he just actually got hit up by 2 more people to help him on major projects. So I'm really happy that his star is shining. I've known him for 2 years. He's such a good guy. Captain Cummings has met him. He's like the friendliest, like jolliest person. I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this in the most sincere way possible. He's like Butters from South Park in real life. He's just so he's so innocent and like
He's
humble and
happy-go-lucky
good-natured.
is what you call it. He's happy-go-lucky. Like everything is coming up, Matthew. That's just his attitude. He's a ray of sunshine. It makes me furious.
Some people in the chat will know what I'm talking about, but I asked him because he did this like 2-page spread not too long ago. He didn't get paid for it, and so I talked to him today, and I was like, "Did you get paid for that 2-page spread?" And he's like, "No, I didn't." And I said, "Do you want me to open a GoFundMe for you for, I don't know, $300, $500? And he's like, "No, man, it's good because I got this gig coming up, and man, everything's coming up. Daisies is so great, man. Oh, I'm so pumped. 2020." I'm like, "You did a 2-page spread, and you didn't get paid for it, and there's a guy running around out there who owes you money, and that's your attitude? Like, I don't know. Like I think that's is that good or bad? Like, is that a good mentality or a bad mentality? Because I'm like, a 2-page spread, that's, I don't know, for me, that's like 16 hours of work. Like, geez. Not to like him and you're a human printer, but he's just so kind. He's so kind and forgiving,
It's easy to. I'm not going to say it's easy to take advantage of Matt, but it's easy to try, I guess. But yeah, the nice thing is that you don't take advantage of him.
You don't take advantage of him. And I've saved him from a couple of occasions where that could have happened.
Yeah, you did.
You just don't. When you hire an artist, you pay your artist. That's just how it goes. Not unless the artist offers to do it for free. Well, here's offers to do it for free. That's fine.
Yeah. So here's for all the people out there who are looking to hire writers or artists or letterers or whoever to help you make your comic or your product. Don't wait for them to ask you to pay them. You should take the responsibility and be professional enough to have a payment schedule ready and prepared. So don't make the person come to you and say, "Hey, I completed that script for you 3 months ago. I'd really appreciate it if you paid me for it," or like, "Hey, I drew those pages for you. It's been about a month and a half, and you haven't emailed me. Can you tell me when I'm going to get paid?" Don't wait for them to do that. You should, if you're the one who basically is doling out the payroll, you should have a schedule for that.
And I've sent out my checks already. The last 2 people to get paid are you and me. Everyone else on Black Ops has already been paid.
If you finished work, you would think it would be payment like, ASAP. Like,
I've got some stories, but I can't talk about it on air.
we have stories, but okay. So let me just move on to some of these questions real quick.
Here's the thing, real quick, is I'm not surprised you're switching the order up, because I was originally planning we're doing Common America next, but my original thought was that we're going to do Walmart 3 and then Black Ops 3. I'm not too surprised though, because we already have like a plot for Walmart 3 ready.
Correct.
But for Black Ops 3, we've just got a flurry of ideas. Like the creativity is kind of just like gushing out of us, and we're really, really anxious to tell more of these Black Ops stories. And it's not that we aren't.
It's not just that. Walmart 3, if we play our cards right, will actually be debuting during the election season.
Oh, yeah.
We're not hiding our politics. I want Donald Trump to win. The God Emperor must win the second term, and so anything that we can do to rally some support, I'm going to do. So we want the hype to be around the election season. And if we can get this book out at least by December as a really nice Christmas gift, we want that to be in people's hands. So
Well,
we want to
that's the
make
other
sure to
thing is
save that
basically,
for the good
Tim,
stuff.
you've just promised people 3 new books in 1 year. So
Yes.
between now and a year from now, people are going to have Common America, Black Ops 3, and Walmart 3.
Correct. By December of next year, we're going to have at least 3 more books. Now, the Walmart franchise, its longevity obviously is kind of controlled by how the president does. We hope to have him in office, but it's also based on the idea that if his second term is kind of boring, I mean, it's not that he loses support. It's just that the whole like Trump phenomenon, like the mania, can go away too. But that's why we have Common America as our second IP, just in case he goes away. We have something else to rest our laurels on. Plus, we have some stuff planned for this character that we really like. Real quick, I need to address this. Ashton Comics says low res digital. Rethink that, please. By low res digital, I do not mean that it's going to be like teeny tiny. I mean it will not be in a format that is going to be big enough that a person from China or Russia can steal our IP and print it on their own. It will be big enough that you can preview it on a digital device and not have any problems with it. And I've tested some of my own comics at 1000 pixels on an iPad Pro, and it looks great. I mean, there's no loss of detail in them, and so that's what I mean by that. Most people will be able to see them and not even notice the difference because they're going to be at a resolution level that is going to be read worthy. Keegan Hall says Matt is the nicest guy. He's the best. Brian Ball, Matt is a machine. He never takes my money. Brian, give him some shekels. Give him what you do. What we do though, like Brian and Matt and I, we exchange art a lot, and that's cool. Like it's like a trading card game. We just like pass art around. I want to say thanks to Brian Ball too, because he gave me a hookup with Luigi, his artist on Rags, and he did a magnifique job, and that was really cool. And I tried to repay the favor by hooking up Raven Monroe with some commission art, which I mailed to her 2 days ago. So she
Her
should be
art's
getting
adorable, by the way. I saw her
She is
campaign.
so cute. Her art is so cute, and that's a great project. If you guys haven't checked out Machi the Lazy Witch on Kickstarter, make sure to head over there and check it out. It's really cool. Keegan Hall says, "Was great to meet Cummings at Bell County Comic Con." Woohoo! Hey, are you listening, Captain Cummings? Thank you.
Captain.
I think he went to go use the can. Hey,
he doesn't even know he has a fan.
Kevin Cummings, you're gonna have to listen to this on replay and see the greetings you got from Keegan Hall. Hikaru says, I don't really get the context of this. Hey, I finished that tweet 7 years ago. I don't know what that was a reference to.
That tweet 7 years ago, what?
Mark, how long did it take you to write The Ballad of Doc Holliday? This book is massive. Ooh, Keegan.
Hey, Keegan? Oh, God, you looked at my book? Oh, man, I'm sorry, Keegan. But no refunds. Yeah, so that book, I wrote it with a friend of mine, John Lim. I call him Limey, just because. So his last name is spelled Liem, and my damn autocorrect kept correcting it to Lime, so I started calling him Limey. But so Limey and I wrote the book, but we wrote it in jam sessions over 5 years. It was just something we were doing for fun on the side. We'd get together in like a chat or something, and we'd come up with like the next like chapter of the book and like a summary, and then I'd adapt that summary into the couplets, because the whole book is written in rhyme for people who don't know. And I'd adapt that, and it would take me a while. I'd be working in the warehouse that I worked at the time, and I'd have like a piece of paper in my pocket, and I'd be shoving boxes around, and in my head I'd be trying to figure out the iambic pentameter of the couplet. And then once I did, I'd pull out the piece of paper and take out a ballpoint pen and scribble it down and put it back in my pocket and start thinking about the next one. And doing it that way, it took about 5 years. But we were just having fun. We weren't even sure if we were ever going to publish it. It was just something we were doing for a gag. And I sat in the book for a year after we finished it, just because I didn't really think it was good enough to publish. And I'm still not sure if it really was. But Austin, that guy I talked about earlier, a friend of ours, he did the cover of the book. He told me, Mark, hey, you wrote a book, and a book's a book. You got to start your Amazon author page somewhere. So just publish the damn thing. So I did. and it's out there for everyone to laugh at.
If anyone wants to see it, I'm actually going to put the link in the chat. So it's called The Ballad of Doc Holliday and the Bloodsucking Locomotive. So I've noticed that Amazon actually combined them now. It's actually with that link, you can get it on Kindle for $3 or paperback for $16. This thing is 556 pages of rhyme. So you can actually take a look inside, and you can actually preview it. Oh, so they actually uploaded the preview pages too. So,
they've been on there.
Yeah,
you can read like half the book on. I don't know what Amazon was doing, why they put so many pages in the preview, but you can read those pages yourself, and you can see if it's if it holds the meter or not. I'm not so sure personally. But yeah, if it's
pages,
yeah,
who cares if they give you 30? That's not half the book. That's like a fraction of it. But geez, holy cow. Let's see here. Bianca says, some guy just sent me some great art. You telling me that they deserve money for their work? LOL. It makes me mad that it was Matt Weldon, because one thing that Matt is just the nicest guy, like super, super nice. I mean, he's talented and he's humble about it. And I think it's happened once or twice that I can think of in the last year where he did work and basically didn't get paid for it, and it infuriates me. Because
people take advantage of them. Yeah, I know.
It happens from people that I know have a reputation as being bad businessmen, and I can't say a thing about it because I don't like doing the public drama thing.
I know, me neither. But so just
it was kind of like caveat emptor. It's like I was just like, dude, you need to get paid.
So a word of advice for everybody out there who's getting started, who's going into business ventures with other people to collaborate and get your comic. If they're hiring you, basically you're working for them, and they promised you a certain amount of money. One, get it in writing. Even if you say like, hey, I need you to send me an email and get it in writing that this is what you promised me, the amount, and this is when you're going to pay me. If they get offended and say they're not going to do that, that's your signal to just get up from the table and walk away. Because if the person doesn't feel comfortable putting the agreement in writing, that's sketchy. And that means that even if they're your buddy, even if they're your grandma, that means that they're up to something. Because when you go 3 months calling this person every week, asking them when they're going to pay you, and they say like, oh, soon, it's going to happen soon, for 3 months, you start to get nervous, and you start to realize, hey, I don't have any of these agreements in writing. If he chooses not to pay me, I can't do anything about it. And that's a lot of stress that you don't need. So get everything in writing and be a nice guy up to a point. It'll only last 3 months if you let it, or within a month, that's when you can start getting serious and say, hey, give me my effing money. Because a lot of the times these people won't respond until you tell them to give you your effing money. If you just call them up and say, hey, it's me again, and I don't want to bother you, but I still haven't gotten paid, but it's no big deal. But if you can find the time, just to let me know when maybe I might be able to get paid. Yeah, you're not getting your money. There's a point where you've got to put your foot down, and you want to be a nice guy. Everybody wants to be a nice guy, but there are these people out there who don't have the sort of moral compass that tells them not to take advantage of nice people. It tells them to take advantage of nice people. So it can be tough, especially if you're a non-confrontational individual. But if it comes down to getting paid for your hard work, then don't screw around, And
the other problem too is that I don't like interfering in other people's business. So when I see someone working with someone who I consider very unscrupulous from a business point, I'm just like, that's between you and them. There's no part of me that's going to go up and be like, hey, you shouldn't work for that guy because this is how their reputation is. I always find out after the fact, where it's like, hey, Tim, do you know anything about this person, and do they pay on time? And it's like, or not pay at all, you mean? Because that certainly is the case in a lot of these types of things. But I don't know, it's sad. Just make sure if you're an artist or a writer, it doesn't hurt to just ask around. Ask someone and be like, hey, I know you work for this person. Do they pay on time? I actually got that question an hour before we started to stream. Someone messaged me and they said, hey, I know you're friends with this person. This is how much they're offering. Are they legit? And I said, yeah, that person has a good reputation of paying on schedule. You want to talk about someone who pays on schedule? Brian Ball. He pays Luigi very well, and he pays on time too.
Also, a lot of times,
wait. He says Matt Weldon won't take it. He won't take your money, Brian. It's because we all love each other. Like I said, we all trade art, which is almost as good as money, I guess. It's fun.
Tim has got a fat stack of $1 kitties from Matt.
I do. And Matt's the funniest guy. So I know Captain Cummings has met him, but he sells these $1 kitties, and he does pretty good for himself. And at the end of the day, it always looks like he's about to go to a strip club because he just has like a fat stack of ones. But it's ironic because he's like the last person who would go to a strip club because he's like the most wholesome guy in the world.
No, because he's like, oh boy, look at all these singles. I can't wait to go to the vending machines in the hotel. We're gonna party.
I actually remember when I was down at the con and we were talking about Brian's comic, and he was telling some woman, he was like, don't read his comic. You want to stay wholesome.
Well, it's funny because Matt likes to draw the ladies, and he draws women very well, but I've known him for 2 years, and there's nothing about him that's perverted or anything. He's just, I don't know, he's just like the most wholesome guy ever. There's another comment here I wanted to read real quick. Oh, it's Carrot and Shtick. So Carrot and Shtick, really cool. You can see her. She does a lot of appearances on the SWC Revive stream, so make sure to check them out if you haven't. I was going to invite them to come on, but Tomax said that he couldn't come on because he was about to go to bed. So he's tuckered out and couldn't make it on the stream. But I'm supposed to go on with them, I think, next week. But she's cool. She has an Instagram account where she shows a lot of the custom dolls that she makes. So she's really cool. She says 72 DPI. Yes, 72 DPI for digital reads combined with your resolution. And you should be able to work something out that people can't print and steal, which is good. Should make everyone happy. Bianca Fights a Zombie says $20 is totally cool, right? For a head sketch? Yeah, believe it or not, that's actually how much I charge for sketch cards. I charge $20. So depends on the type of art that you do. Me, I'm not really worth anything, but the reason I started charging $20 was actually a legit reason for it. I used to charge $5, and then I freaking broke my wrist practically doing $5 sketch cards.
That was at Terror Expo. Everybody came by asking you to draw Jasons and Michaels and Leatherfaces for $5, and you did 100 of those in one weekend.
It was awful, but so I upped it to 10, and what happened was I got hired to do Marvel Masterpiece trading cards, and that artificially raises your market value. Where people who know that you do it will want those $10 cards, and they'll buy a ton of them from you and sometimes flip them on eBay. So I had to go up $10 more to just not necessarily weed them out, but just space out the demand. And so now they're $20, and they're $40 for the commission ones, which I only do at conventions. So that explains that price. And luckily, I've gotten to the point where now I can typically move away from doing sketch cards and just doing the full commissions, which are $60. And that's good because it gives me a lot of time to focus on those and not stress out about having to do 100 cards.
Well, and $60 for a commission is pretty good.
It's good because, for example, Scotty Young charges $100. I am not Scotty Young, so I am not going to charge $100.
I don't know if I'd pay. I don't know if I would pay Scotty Young $100.
Well, so Tim got a Scotty Young commission, and it's the goofiest looking thing. Why don't you tell him about it, Tim?
I paid Scotty Young for a commission, and it was I got him to draw Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone. Yeah, he did a really good job, but it's Scotty Young, and he has that distinct style. Some people like it, some people don't. It's very sketchy, but the funny thing is that he was the hotness for probably 2 years. Recently, he was on every variant cover, and then I think that I don't know if he fizzled out or what. I know he's still working. I mean, I like his stuff.
I Hate Fairyland, I think is the creator on right now. But yeah, when he was working for Marvel, he was doing all those variant covers. He did those Wizard of Oz miniseries with Eric Shanower. Then they're really good. But yeah, kind of had his huge surge, and now he's just doing his creator-owned stuff. But that Rod Serling one he did for you, you said that he did it like in the hotel room, like between Saturday and Sunday, and he didn't have any reference photos of Rod Serling, so it doesn't look a thing like Rod Serling. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, you didn't like it. I actually think it does look like Rod Serling.
It looks like Rod Serling in the same way the real Ghostbusters Peter Venkman looks like Bill Murray, and that it doesn't look anything like him. It's just the same character.
I think you're being too harsh. I loved it. I thought it looked great.
It was a good piece of art. I mean, it was great Scotty Young stuff. I didn't think it looked enough like Rod Serling. It had all of his characteristics. He's wearing the suit. He's smoking the cigarette. He's got the spooky lighting. It's just like his head is shaped wrong and his hair is wrong. It doesn't look.
Oh, you know what? I know what you mean. In a way, he could also be Dean Martin.
Exactly. Yeah, he could be like slow jazz, like free forming up there or something.
Yes, exactly. What else would I want to say about that? It was about like what our future projects. Oh yes, the other thing I was gonna say was, so we flip things around. Oh my gosh, I gotta tell you this, Mark. So, I'm not gonna spoil it for the audience, but the fate of Hair Trigger at the end of the book, Matt totally predicted what we were gonna do for the next one. He was like, so in the next book, Hair Trigger is gonna blah blah blah, and I was like, yeah, and he's like, bruh, dude, that was like totally awesome. So he looked at the Dropbox files and was like, this is so cool. So we have a lot of stuff planned for that book. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I do have a recommendation. We haven't actually talked about it, but we were laughing because someone made this. I think it was you. You made a comment where it's like, I just saw this art and it was badass. And Matt Weldon commented and was like, "Where's Action Donkey?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, we should totally have like the Jersey Devil show up." And so we were talking about that over lunch today. He was like, dude, you should have the Jersey Devil. That'd be so great. You're blowing my mind.
That's the thing is, so for people who don't know, I mean, I don't just write a script from like brain to script. We have story Bibles, and I pass them back and forth with Tim, like character Bibles. And it has a whole bunch of like huge backstories and origins and histories of characters that that information may never actually appear in the comic. It's just there for us to use.
Your character.
Exactly. It's something for us to use so that the characters are fully fleshed out when we start writing them or drawing them and creating them, so that we have something to go on. But I've been writing and building up these character Bibles for stuff, not for stuff well beyond Black Ops 2 Hair Trigger, for like volumes and volumes and volumes into the future. And there's just 1,000,001 different cryptid and folklore characters and I'm dying to use all of them. Like I'm from Virginia and I want to do Bunny Man so bad because that was our local urban legend cryptid, was Bunny Man. And so I've got this whole idea for Bunny Man. I want to do the Jersey Devil too, because that's another great one from up there, up north. And we've got all these great characters and story ideas. And it's all just kind of, like torrenting out of us. And then Matt Weldon comes along and he tells us like, oh man, where's Action Donkey? I'm like, oh shit, we need Action Donkey.
His name is not going to be Action Donkey. We haven't actually thought that far ahead, but I just thought that was hysterical. Oh, and we can say the name of, people might have heard it on previous chats, but the name of Walmart 3 is Goblin Slayer.
Goblin Slayer.
So Goplin Slayer. Oh my gosh, I don't know what happened just now, but the chat just caught up. For some reason it was caught like at 10:24 and I didn't see any new ones. And then now I don't know what happened. I think my computer just like refreshed and now it's like showing them all now. So let's see. Brian Ball says, on the flip side of this, if you're an artist and we're paid up front, don't wait 4 months to send a sketch. Absolutely correct. I only accept money at the very end. So I don't take any money up front. I always make sure that I do the work first and then I get paid. Now here's the thing. Like, how do you do that digitally? Easy. I send the low res file. And it's like, if you want the high res, then you pay me. And then I send you the higher res one. Brian Ball says my comic is wholesome. Yes, your women are very healthy. They're very
They eat lots of beef.
They eat lots of beef. They're thick. THICC. For Mark to read. So I think Keegan wants you to read this, Mark.
Read
He
what?
wants you to read this. The thing on
Hold
screen.
on. Let me get up there. So I have a wireless headset, so I'm always walking around my apartment. Okay.
Okay.
Then the detective recoiled at an awful sound. The steps were moaning beneath heavy feet. A black and hairy shape came stomping into view, and it carried the bouquet of spoiled meat. Yes, I did write that couplet in the Ballad of Doc Holliday and the Blood-Sucking Locomotive. There are pockets in that book that I think read well, or they won't make you throw up. I appreciate that, Keegan. Thank you. I forgot I even wrote that. I have a copy of that book on my shelf, and I haven't cracked it open since I published it. So there's a lot of stuff in there that I forgot that I wrote. Maybe it's not as bad as I remember it. But you can be the judge, people. Buy the book and find out.
Buy the book.
Well, Keegan apparently did. Keegan,
thank you.
I know I've mentioned this. I mentioned the Chicken Sith, and I think I mentioned it on a previous stream. But anytime we do Bell County Comic Con, we're gonna invite you to go out with us too, because we like you and we think you're awesome. Carrot and Shtick says, "Oh hey, it's me. Yes, it's you, Carrot and Shtick. Thank you for coming by." Let's see here. Brian Ball says that Butterdome head from Tim is $20. Tee hee hee. It's not tee hee hee. It's Jeremy Purebloom says I'm doing something illegal right now, driving and texting. Come get me, cops. What's your star rating right now? Are you at 3 stars, 4 stars?
Can you make it out of Liberty City? Yeah.
Can you make it out of Liberty City intact? I hope you can. Comic Book Hut says Nick Bradshaw does great sketch cards. Yes, he does. Jeremy Purebloom again says, "OMG Cummings." Kevin, you have some fans. You know, every time, I know you're not on social media that much anymore. You're too busy focusing on studying, but people want you back. They love you. They think you're the coolest. So I always pray for Captain Cummings to come back, but he's probably moved on to brighter and better things. Karen Shtick says, I was a Scotty fan when he did Human Torch. I liked him I think I first noticed him he was actually in an issue of Darkstalkers when Udon was publishing that book on a monthly basis. And so
I forgot about that. He was on that.
Yep. You met him in MegaCon in 2017. We met him at Heroes Con in 2015. So we met him a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Scotty's still at Marvel, yes. And he's probably still doing the baby variants. Brian Ball says Action Donkey. Brags is not for vegans. No, it's not.
My wife just called me in the other room to yell at me that she got second place in Tetris. She got beat by the Asians.
Oh, but that's okay. It's only if you're an Asian and you get second place that you have to commit seppuku.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, second place to Asians means that you're just first place in the rest of the world.
She gets second place all the time. I don't know if I'd have to ask her, but I don't think she's ever gotten first place. She gets second place like pretty regularly.
Your wife is hysterical. It was really fun when you guys came down a few months ago to visit. I'm glad that she came along and had some fun too. I can't wait for next year. Like we're gonna have a pretty big group. Supposedly Edwin Boyette and Jean De La Rose are gonna come in.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
Edwin,
I thought we had a big group last year.
Dude, we had so much fun, and that wasn't even last year. That was like 2 months ago. It was crazy.
Yeah,
but that was freaking awesome. And I can't wait to do that again. And Doug says that he wants to come in again. We're gonna try and do this thing where we get a slightly bigger booth. So if he wants to set up, he can too.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a lot of fun, and hopefully we can have the same setup where we're next to Matt and Bill. Because I mean, I think that everyone was having so much fun. What'd you say?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a ball. And by the way, I passed on a recommendation to the showrunner. I said, "Hey, my friend from Kansas, he had a blast." And he said, "Well, what things does he think I can do better?" And I said, "He wants more comic book vendors because he's a back issue kind of guy."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Done. I'll do it. I'll see if we can get 1 or 2 more comic vendors to show up." Because it's a comic convention, and so you don't want to leave out those guys. So
well, I know there's a bunch of them in like Oklahoma. I don't know if they came down because I talked to them when I'm in Kansas, and the Kansas has like more vendors maybe the same amount of vendors, but like a smaller space, so it seems like the same amount or whatever, But I don't know. I'm too drunk to care.
Oh, you started drinking?
I was drinking before we started. Or
before
I started.
Recipe for vodka mojito Mountain Dew bombs, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta try that." Oh fuck.
Hey, Jeremy Peerboom says, "I'm not black, so no stars."
Hey, we're not playing. So Peerboom, you like that meme from San Andreas where you're walking into the alley like, "Oh shit, here we go again."
I was laughing so hard I choked on my spit. I had to mute the mic. I know there's a joke I can rope in with Brian Ball here somewhere, but I can't think at the moment. Okay, man, we've been streaming for an hour and 40 minutes, so I think we kind of talked about everything that we've wanted to. We're gonna kind of play it chill for the next few months. We're gonna go into pre-production for Common America and hammer out the script, and so I'll start working on that probably in late November, early December, and hopefully we can have a campaign running by either late January, early February. But I think by next year, we're set to have those 3 books out, and not even including the side projects I'm going to be involved with. So I mean, it should be a lot of fun. But we hope that everyone keeps up with us. We hope you like the work. Have your fingers crossed, because we're at the printers right now, but there's still some stuff that can go wrong. And we're still looking at 3 to 5 week shipping. So if we get those books here by the end of October, we're going to be pretty early in terms of the things that we set out to do. So we're really excited for it. And we're excited for all the people who stopped by. I think we peaked at 20 viewers live for this particular broadcast. So for those of you who tuned in, you got a dose of Captain Cummings, which is really cool. I'm glad that he was able to join us. But anyway, hey, Captain, is there anything you want to say before you continue your drinking?
Well, Jeremy said that Tetris is a commie game. That is true. That's 100% fact. I follow this YouTube guy called The Comic Historian, and he put out a documentary about the history of Tetris.
I've watched that. It's fascinating.
It is the greatest product that communism ever produced.
But in order for that guy to make any money, he had to go through all sorts of like underhanded illegal dealings to get it distributed outside of the Soviet Union, just so he could earn a profit from it. Because otherwise, the government would have taken it. And he'd have got
the government would have taken it from him because he apparently made it at work or something.
Yep. Like that. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating story. The origin of Tetris is actually really interesting. Is it the comic historian or the gaming historian? Because he did a video on it.
Yeah, the gaming historian.
Yeah, he did.
Gaming historian is good.
Yeah, gaming historian is awesome. He did I think he put out a video this week about the Game Boy.
The Game Boy Fisherman.
Sonar. Yeah, it's Sonar fishing accessory that was only released in Japan, and it was just for something so stupid. It was a really fascinating video. He's very thorough. Yeah. And that.
Mark, is there anything that you want to say before you go get tanked?
I'm already tanked.
Oh my gosh, I'm the only one. Oh, so I have to drive tomorrow, which is why I don't actually drink. I know Jeremy. I told Jeremy Peerboom a story of I did indulge recently, but it's not something I do. I'm addicted to coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, but I have to actually go to bed early tonight so that I can hit the road tomorrow, so that we can make it to this wedding that Mark and I have to go to. So Mark, you'd better take it easy on the sauce. I don't actually know if they're serving alcohol at this wedding tomorrow.
Tim, I can drink however much I
want. Keegan Hall says, Tim, when you and Mark are together, do people think Mark is your chauffeur? No, it's like Green Hornet. I'm his chauffeur always. And I actually have the mask and the chauffeur cap to prove it. And Jeremy Peerboom says, go home, Cummings. You're drunk. Well, I think he is. I think the Cum Dog Millionaire is home. I think everyone is home. You're home, Mark, right? You're not like in a sleazy.
I'm not sitting in a bar talking about freaking Black Ops comics over like a Bluetooth, with everybody looking at me like, who's this homo?
You're not in a maid cafe.
Yeah, in a maid cafe. Actually, I'm in Tokyo right now in a Love Hotel.
Oh my! Oh, so I had a question about that. I was watching this anime yesterday. and there's a girl, and to pay for her student, her tuition, she's a maid. She's like in one of those maid cafes, but her dad thought it was like scandalous. I was like, I don't get it. Like I don't even know what a maid cafe is. So they just act like maids, right? Like that's the whole shtick.
There's a lot of weird fetish cafes in Japan where the girls will dress up and they'll play like certain characters. It's for like very, very sad, lonely people.
But it's not. There's nothing like sexual involved, right?
You can't.
Like,
I mean, if you go to a strip club, you can't touch the strippers. You can't even take out your cell phone. You just got to sit there and sit in your hands and enjoy the show, and then get up and leave respectfully.
but the maids in the maid cafe, they don't do anything like take off their clothes. They just serve you food while dressed as maids.
Well,
so it's like a food.
that is porn for Japanese people. Is 3D women doing things that 2D women do. That's what they get their rocks off on. Oh, she's just like my 2D waifu. That's what the Japanese enjoy.
Speaking of 2D waifus, Donald Trump right now is polling at 100% of the 2D waifus.
John Della Rose told me that. Yeah,
dude, John has the best memes. I mean, like I like take all my memes from him. They're so good. Just follow John Della Rose for nothing else except his memes. I always give him flack because my wife likes his writing, but I'm just like, I don't read that steampunk stuff. Are you kidding me? Come on. Carrot and Stick says, go to bread early. Are you sure you haven't been drinking? Well, it depends because in a way, when you drink beer, you're essentially drinking liquid bread.
No, they were referencing.
When you're drinking liquid bread, that means you can run the distance.
You can run the distance.
You can run the distance.
They were referencing The Simpsons, where is the one where Lisa babysits Bart, and Bart's like being a brat, and so Lisa tells him to go to bed, and then she walks into the kitchen, and he's sitting there like eating like a loaf of Wonder Bread, and he's like, "Yeah, you said go to bread." It's not very funny, but yes, it is a Simpsons reference.
Dun, 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 dun.
Mark.
This figure 7 says, I rather go to a bunny cafe. Yes, they have those in Japan, and they look great. You sit in a cafe and you get to pet rabbits. And
yeah, you go to the cafe,
really cool.
You pick out the rabbit you want, and they cook it for you on the hibachi in front of you. It's great.
No,
No.
no. I mean, like, I don't know if I'd care or not. I have 5 rabbits, and I get plenty of it. But
when I went to Japan, we bought a case of beer. And then we walked and we rented some fishing poles, and then we fished with beer.
You fished with beer
on the fishing line and threw the beer in the water?
No, hell no.
Oh, you drank the beer while you were fishing. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Fishing with beer. Okay.
Oh, you white people, you're so crazy. Mark with his tequila Mountain Dew.
Well, when I was in Takayama in 2005,
Takayama. That sounds fancy.
Honorable Takayama. Yeah, no, this is going to get us deplatformed if we keep going with these accents. But I was in Takayama and I bought some sake at like 12 in the afternoon. And then I just went back to my hotel room, and I think I just sat there and drank sake and watched like Japanese Sesame Street on my hotel TV.
Sesame Street. The thing I remember watching when I was, we were in Singapore, and it was like 1980s wrestling.
Okay, so like Gorilla Monsoon and that kind of stuff, or
yeah, they were just showing 1980s wrestling.
Yeah, the name of the one Asian wrestler? Was it Steamboat Ricky? What was his name?
There's been a few. Yokozuna?
Oh no, I'm not thinking about Yokozuna. His name was like Ricky. Is it Ricky the Steamboat? Was he Asian? I don't remember.
I don't think so. Mr. Fuji, is that who you're thinking of? The guy from Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling?
No, it was Ricky. It was Ricky Steamboat.
I mean, Ricky Steamboat existed. I just don't remember if he was Asian or not.
I don't remember either. I only know. He was Hawaiian.
That's not Asian. That's Polynesian.
Oh, you said you go to Takoyama. I was in Akira Toriyama.
We to Akira Toriyama. Oh.
I'm just gonna put this comment up. I'm not gonna read it because I know someone's waiting for me to get in trouble. But that's pretty funny.
Let me get in front of the monitor. Take a look at this funny comment.
There it is. Alrighty. I need to go to bed. Actually, I have to finish up this Inktober thing real quick and then post it, and then I'm going to go to bed. But thank you for joining us on this edition of, actually, this is the edition of the Briar Patch because we were just sitting around talking shop. But we look forward to you guys getting your books within the next, say, 3 to 7 weeks, depending on how long it takes to get them into fulfillment. Just keep tabs with us on social media to see what we have coming up for next year. Join us pretty much every night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we just have these bants as usual. Sometimes we have Bunderdomes, and those are when we invite specific guests to talk about specific projects. But we have 3 segments. We have the Bunderdome, we have the Briar Patch, which is just talking, shooting debris. And then we have thinking outside the long box, which is where we bring in non-pros to talk about kind of their views on the industry and stuff. We're hoping to get some fans in. There was one in particular that I wanted to have come on the show who was just a customer, but she did not want to come on for various reasons. So hopefully we'll be able to have other people on at some point. So let me see here. I need to leave with my quote. Who is someone that we brought up in the chat recently? Oh, I know. So we will say goodnight. And in the immortal words of President Donald Trump, bye.